Hi, everyone. Welcome back. I'm here today with one of our beloved guests, Mr. Reverend Bill McDonald, who's here for the fourth time. Thank you so much for coming, Reverend Bill.
Four times.
Fourth
Wow.
time. Yes.
I'm a glutton.
Well, your messages are so important during these confusing times of so much spiritual information on the internet. So we appreciate your clarity.
Okay. All right.
And today we're going to be talking about the topic of relationships, karma, loyalty. So would you mind first starting by telling us a little bit about what is the purpose of loyalty? What is the power of commitment, vows, and integrity as it comes to relationships?
Okay. I'm going to give you an answer. I don't even know where it's going to come from. So everything you're asking me is, I haven't preset anything. I'm just going to let the answer be what the answer to be. But to me, loyalty is the linchpin, the foundation, the basis of all your spiritual endeavors. If you're not loyal to your teacher, to your guru, to your religion, to your country, to your spouse, to your partner, to whatever, uh, your spiritual advancement is going to be coming to a roadblock because loyalty reflects the greater truth within yourself. In other words, if you've made commitments and like in wedding, you have a vow.
Mhm.
Well, when you go in the military, you take an oath. Uh, when you're aligning yourself with any activity or group, you have a certain buy-in, and it's your word. You're going to do something. So loyalty can be something as simple as this. I'm going to do this for you, and if I don't, then that's really a violation. So I consider loyalty not just loyal, but your word. So your word, your vow, your oath, um, those are important. That's the greater truth. So if you're don't commit to something. Don't take an oath or a vow. Don't commit to anything that you're not willing to carry out because it brings down your frequency and your energy when you don't go through and fulfill these things that you vowed to do. And that includes, I do weddings all the time. I officiate weddings. Oh yeah, better or worse. Well, you know what? Most weddings don't survive worse. They survive better. But when worse comes, oh, not the same person I married. Um, you got to mean it. Don't don't say it unless you mean it. Now, there's certain things if you take a vow of loyalty to your country and your country betrays you, and or your spouse betrays you, there's certain things that would end your commitment. But for the most part, um, your word, that's what really gets down to. Loyalty is your word. It's your commitment. So if you commit to a certain thing, do it. And when you're no longer able to do it, like you're following a guru, let's say you're loyal to your guru, and then you find out, well, maybe the guru wasn't loyal to you, and maybe there's all kinds of stuff you didn't know, and you find out you're involved in something that's not what you signed up for. Let the guru know, let your teacher know that you're leaving, and ask permission if you're going to go to somebody else. Real guru will say, go, seek somebody else and they'll let you go. If they hold you there, um, then they weren't ever really your real guru. But you should always be grateful for the experience, no matter who they are. If failed guru disciple relationship, there was something you learned from it. Failed marriage, there was something you learned from that. And don't just fade out of a marriage. If a marriage is over, then you have to look somebody in the eye if it's safe to do for us. I mean, if you got violence or something, it's a whole different thing. But you gotta call it. You go, this is it. It's over. Leave for something better, not leave out of hatred. Leave for something better. You're leaving for something better. And that something better is self-respect. It's loving yourself. Because if you're staying with somebody that's abusing you emotionally, physically, spiritually, sexually, whatever, then if you're allowing that, you're not respecting this higher law of loving yourself because you wouldn't let somebody harm you in those ways. So I've seen too many people drop out of a marriage before they've really given it the full test. They start to get it into shaky grounds, this and that, and they're not working that hard at it. They have a plan B and a plan C if this doesn't work out. I've done weddings where the wedding's over, and then that night I'll have the groom tell me, yeah, well, if this doesn't work out, I go, what? What do you mean if this doesn't work out? Um, on your honeymoon night, you're already talking about an alternate plan if it doesn't work out. And that sounds funny and it sounds like it's made up, but that's not. People have these alternate things, it's so when you take a vow for country, for God, for marriage, for partnerships, whatever it is, hold to it. But don't be selling your soul to hold to an alliance or to a commitment that is dark or evil. Because I'm sure the Nazis had a commitment to their cause. At some point along the line, they go, well, this isn't lining up with this is not for the greater good. So that's a part of this. So I don't know if that handles a loyalty issue, but loyalty is not just something simple. You're loyal to, no, there's gray areas, there's different colors, there's different essence of it, there's different frequency and vibration to it, because no divine source wants you to suffer at the hands of somebody you shouldn't be with. All right. But you chose this person you supposedly love, and you chose this person because you thought they were your soulmate or whatever. And all of a sudden you fall out of love. Now everything they do is terrible, and then you're off looking at someplace else. Love the one you're with, love who you're with, love where you're with, love what you do. If you leave a place because you hate it, it's the wrong reason. Love because you're going someplace better. If you leave somebody because you hate them, no, love because you're going to someplace better. You're going to someplace where you can love yourself, where you can take care of yourself, where you can nurture your own self. Don't leave because you found somebody better. You shouldn't be looking for anybody better until you finalize the relationship you're in. I understand marriages fall apart, boom, 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 great. Well, then call it quits, set it up, but you don't look for somebody before you finalize your relationship. That's not real loyalty. That'll step on a lot of toes because I know many, many people that are still involved in their partnership with somebody and they're out looking for somebody else because they're unhappy. I say, no, finalize what you have, end that relationship. If it was a contract, carry out the contract, end it, break the contract, do whatever you do. But you don't go out seeking somebody else while you're still with somebody that's bound for failure on that future relationship just as well. Because if you did it to that partner's got to think, well, someday maybe this will happen to me. Just a thought. But anyway, loyalty is huge. Loyalty is huge. So if you're loyal to God, and let's throw that up, if you're loyal to God, that means you're loyal to compassion, love, forgiveness, the good things. You can't be showing your loyalty to God and you're destroying yourself. You're doing drugs, you're shooting yourself up, you're doing these things. Well, where's this loyalty to loving yourself, which is loving God? So, priority number one, love yourself, and everything else falls into place. And if you love yourself, then you love and you honor your own word, your own commitments. If you're not honoring your own commitments, you made those voluntarily, unless it was a gun to your head. You made those voluntarily. Carry forth on them, and don't just. Well, the times have changed. I've changed. Finalize things because all of this eventually gets down to karmic uh, repercussions. Is the best way to say it. You how you end things is more important than how you begin things. So always keep in mind that there's a repercussion for everything you do. So don't lie to people. That's not loyal. If you're a friend to somebody, don't talk about them behind their back. That's a hard one for all of us. I mean, it really is. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But no, that's you should be the friend that if somebody says something about somebody that is your friend, that you would defend them even if they weren't there publicly. It's like, no, you don't know my friend. This guy's not capable of doing that. That's wrong. Very little of that is, very little of that pushback is there. People listen to it, and they go, or they'll add to it. So when you hear rumors about somebody, never repeat a rumor. If you're repeating it, you got to ask yourself, is it good for other people to know? Is it good for me to tell people this? Is it true? What good comes out of this? So don't people hear things and then bad news always gets passed on. So even if it's correct, you got to ask yourself, what harm comes from passing this on? Are you judging this person? Do you really know the real truth? Do you know the whole story? And sometimes there's just, why tell it? Why pass on garbage about people? Everybody knows something about somebody negative. What's the point of sharing it? So it doesn't make you any higher. All right, I think that's loyalty as far as I can dig that hole. I'll
Yeah.
probably have a lot of people contact and say, what do you mean? I just didn't want to be with my wife anymore. Okay, great. I'm just saying you started friends, end as friends. Be honest with people. That's all. It's never too late to be honest with people.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so important. And I 100% agree with you because both you and I see people when they're going through crossroads, right? Either they're meeting someone, they're getting married, they're getting divorced, they're getting ready to change. And so how they handle it, how cleanly, I always tell people, how cleanly you handle this will impact the karma, right? You can leave your wife and like take all the money and not take care of her, or you can tell her, be honest and take care of her on your husband the same way. And then the karma is clean versus you have a secret relationship for years and the other person just doesn't know. It's so much karma. So could you talk a little bit about more about karma? Just like basically, what do we need to know about karma? There is planetary effects, but I've also heard you say like we can go beyond the planets of karma. And so would you mind sharing a little bit about positive karma, negative karma, past lives, how we go beyond it? What do we need to know about karma?
Well, first off, karma relates to actions.
Mm.
Whatever actions you take, and sometimes taking no action is karma. Like you see some woman getting beat up, you're a guy, and you're letting some woman get beat up. Well, I don't want to get involved. I don't want to get hurt, right? And so it's a karma incurred from non-action. You see something wrong, you don't do something about it. Well, it's not my business, but. So what you think can become karma. What you focus on, like if, okay, I'm not hurting anybody. I'm just going online, just looking at pornography. You're pulling your mindset down to this level, and in your mind, you're doing these things, and you're creating a a karmic wave. It's just there, and you will eventually attract and manifest these things that you're focusing on. So be really careful what you watch in a movie, what you read in a book, what you watch on TV, conversations you have with people that get you down in some real crazy world. So all that is part of this karmic action. And it's not just that's negative stuff, but it also works for positive. If you have these desires to build orphanages and churches and get self this and that and all these wonderful things you want to do, you're going to keep coming back because you can't build an orphanage in heaven. They don't need it. I'm sorry. And even though you want to get this and that, you got to come back here on this earth to get these things you want, even if they're good things. So karma is the glue that keeps you glued to your ego. But you can't do something without action. You live in this world. You eat, you gain weight, or you get sick, or you get healthy from what you eat, or whatever. Uh, what you think, what you do, everything you do affects your karma.
Mhm.
Now, the great ones, where you reach a certain point of evolution, you're spiritually evolving and you reach a certain frequency, they can drink poison. It's not going to do anything to them. It's not, there's no karma. It's, they're doing things for others. Like Jesus allowed himself to be killed. Wasn't his karma. I mean, he didn't do it. Did he deserve to be nailed up there and tortured and everything? So you can't judge 100% with certainty by looking at somebody's life and saying, "Oh, look, they're all crippled up. They're sick all the time. What bad karma they must have." You have no idea. Some of those people that you're making those comments about may be burning somebody else's karma.
Mhm.
They may take this on for their spouse or taking it on for others or taking it on for the world. If they're like Jesus, they're taking it on for the others. I really do believe the great ones can take on karma for others. Do I think the average normal person, 90% of 95, 98, 99% of us do? No, but there are some out there that can and do. And there's a lot of parents and mothers, most especially, that kind of take on a karmic burden on in this certain lifetime. They'll come and they'll help their child, and they in the process they've suffered financially, mentally, spiritually, physically, or whatever. So you can't judge that karma either. So it's karma is one of these things. To understand it, you almost have to be out of your mind. You can't do it with a rational mind. You can't do it with a thinking brain. It's at a different level. For example, murder. You say something's murder because somebody took somebody's life. Well, you could have killing and it's not murder. You can have a doctor trying to save your life and he accidentally cuts an artery and you bleed to death. What kind of karma does that doctor get? He's actually trying to save you and make it better, but he wasn't able to and he made a mistake. So the mistake the doctor makes is at the same level of karma as somebody goes into a store and shoots somebody in a robbery. They're dead. No, it's different karma. Or the soldier that goes to war and he doesn't want to kill the enemy, but the enemy's trying to kill his buddies. So he fires back to protect himself and his others. And so he's fighting back, but he doesn't hate the people he's shooting at. He's doing this out of love of the people he's with, and he can't see something happen to them. So that's a different level. Then a guy goes into combat, shoots the same soldier as the other guy's shooting at, but he hates them. He's a racist. He hates these guys. They're different. They're evil. They're not my Christian values. They're different, right? And and so they kill people out of hate, anger, racism, prejudice, whatever. And it's a whole different level. So when that person goes to war and they shoot somebody, it's a different karma, no matter what side they're on.
Mhm.
They could bad guy, so-called quote unquote bad guy shooting at you, your enemy. He may not hate you at all. He's stuck in there. He got drafted. He's just defending himself. He is doing what his country asked of him, which is back to loyalty. And if you go back to Lord Krishna and all that, when there was wars and things going on there, what Krishna tell Arjuna? You got to fight the war. It's your duty. And he's fighting his brothers, and people he knew and liked, and family, and yet what was he told by Krishna, this great saintly person? Tells him, your duty, your duty.
Mhm.
So what kind of karma was that? If he killed somebody on the other side, did Arjuna get bad karma for doing what he was told by Krishna? So it's like
Mhm.
you can't go, well, you killed somebody, that's bad karma because you're a police officer. Guy's committing a crime. He's got a gun to your head. The cop, if you don't got, and the cop, sniper gets the guy, and so he doesn't kill the hostage. Well, is that sniper guy for the police department? Is he a bad guy? Is he going to suffer bad karma for shooting that guy? Because shooting that guy saved the life of all these other people. Maybe the guy's got a bomb, right?
Mhm.
So it's not simple karmic, and you go, oh, you take a life, this is your karma. No, there's so many different levels of that. Same thing with let's take somebody breaking up their marriage, and there could be bad karma there, but there also could be some real gray area karma and some karma that's not so fixed heavy. Because, for example, if you left your husband because he's molesting your child, I don't care what kind of oath you got to him. You leave. You're protecting that child, even though bad things will happen to you and you're going to go hungry and you're trying to make it on your own. And I've seen this, but is that bad karma? Somebody did the right choice. So sometimes karma is just making choices. So what determines the karma is your intentions. Why'd you do that? Why did you do that? Simple as that. And it could look like 10 people doing the same thing, but if their motives were all 10 different motives, then they got different levels of karma. So what looks like bad karma may not be bad karma. And when things are happening to you and they say, well, you're sick, you got cancer, you must have terrible karma, your kid was born crippled, they must have been a terrible person. That's all rubbish. You have no idea. Sometimes people come into a lifetime and they'll make a conscious choice. I'm coming in crippled up. I'm coming in with I can't talk, I can't see, I can't whatever. I'm deaf, whatever. And I'm doing that so my parents learn compassion. I'm doing that so this can be taught to others. And anyway, it may be you become an example, and that whole thing was planned. It was like you don't see it at the time in the moment that you're living in. It's just like, why me, right? But there's a reason you come to there. And there's people that, they've chopped off heads of everybody and they come back in and they got some real physical problems because so you can't just go, so you have to look at the inner person, have a sense of who and what they are. Like I've met a lot of people, I'm trying to think of the name of it, uh, but I went to these camps for adults that had brain injuries and stuff and were operationally not high IQ people. And I found some very, very spiritually leaning people that just people treat them like idiots, they're stupid and all this kind of stuff. And then you listen to their heart and how open they are to love and to angels. And I was at a summer camp in Florida, what the Catholic Church was sponsoring, but they had to use public facilities and they had money and stuff and grants. So they had to be all religions. They had to be non any one particular religion. So of course they invite me, right? Who's the guy that's open to everything, right? So I'm one of the, and then they had a Methodist or some other Catholic church, not Catholic church, but another Protestant church. And then they had a Catholic church and had this Catholic priest there. And we had these people there. And I went there thinking I was going to spend a week and a half there. I'm going there to help them. I mean, how great me. I'm coming there and I'm going to spend my time and work with these people. And these people weren't young. They were acting like children, but they were like 40s and 50s, and younger ones were 30s. So it was adult with these same things that went through the system. And then when they get older, there's nothing for them to do. So this church thing was, well, let's organize a summer camp for these adults. They still like to play games and do stuff and, have some music, and they brought in some horses and stuff, and, they swam. So I kept thinking when I was there, and after I was there a while, I kept thinking, oh, I'm not doing anything for these people. These people are helping me. They're just so loving and so simple. They didn't want anything. They just wanted to love back. And so one night we go in there and had a meeting. This before I went to this meeting with some nuns and some priests and the other minister, and the staff was going to have a meeting at night. And this one guy comes to me and he goes, "What do we call him? We call him Moose." I don't know I can't remember what his real name was, but he didn't mind the nickname. He was called Moose. His parent, they called him Moose. Okay, great. And he tells me, he goes, Reverend Bill, he says, I saw an angel. Oh, okay. And an angel talked to him and everything. I said, okay, great. And so, and he was just talking to me. This kid, I don't think a kid, he was like 50 years old. I don't think he was capable of lying. He just says, he talked to this angel that night, right? I said, okay, great. And I said, where was that angel? And he tells me it was in this tree. Okay, great. So I go there and I try to tell some of the people. I said, this guy saw an angel. And they go, yeah, I'm a nun, and this is a minister, and here's a priest, and we ain't seen any here. And you're telling us that one of the campers is seeing this stuff. And I said, well, I believe the guy, anyway. So the next day I had another camper come to me and he goes, Reverend Bill, he goes, I saw an angel. I go, what? So a second guy tells me. I go, where? He points to the same tree. I don't see anything up there. So we're inside this building and it's got glass window, and then we got a little altar down below it. And we're all looking there and we're taking pictures. And then when you take with the cell phone, right, you got sometimes you pick up orbs and weird things. So we see something white in the tree, but just we keep, putting the fingers there to make it bigger and bigger. And it looked like a Christmas tree ornament of a angel, like hanging from a Christmas tree. It's a white angel up there in this tree, right? And then I showed it to the nun, and we're all looking at it. And everybody, I said, what do you think this is? Everybody looked at it and goes, well, that's a white angel. Everybody. And I said, well, you got two of your campers who've seen it and talked. One of them's talked to it. Two of them have seen it. And now we got it on a camera. Okay, it's little. But there's something there. So anyway, so it's people will rise and become who and what they want to be and what they are. But karma, I'm looking at these adults there, and I'm thinking of all the good they've brought out of other people. They've inspired people. And I was inspired. I left there and I'm going, wow. I mean, if the priest or the nuns would have saw it, then okay, then okay, all right. They saw Mother Mary, yeah, great. I mean, I would have believed them, but nobody believed these kids except me. And I'm going, and then when they had the camera thing, then they didn't know what to believe. Then it was like, oh, maybe it's real. Because people equate spirituality with high IQ. You gotta be smart. No, children see these beautiful things. They're not running around this knowledge bank, and they, all these things. It's heartfelt. And so these people, you could call them anything you want. They're human beings, and when they see with their heart and they feel with their heart, because they don't have much intellect, their intellect was not there, but it was no analysis going on. It was just, yeah, there's an angel. She talked to me in the story. It was just like it's cold outside. That was it. It was like no emotion, just yeah, it was there. And then nobody believed him but me, and it was like ego. Anyway, talk about karma. That's where I was at, right? Karma. So it's not about exterior, how things look. Because on the exterior, you look at these people and you go, wow, how could all these people with mental issues and damaged brains, and they're born that way and all this stuff, and yet they're seeing angels. So people come to this world, and karma is the least understood by anybody, even myself. It's hard to look at somebody and really get a karmic map of where they've been traveling and why that's happened. Like I tell people, oh, they got a child that's sick and dies on them, and you go, wow. And then you realize that child had a purpose, came in, and the parents had agreed to it some level. They needed to work some things out, and these parents needed to deal with that issue so they could learn compassion love, kindness, helping others, whatever they're inspired to do from that. It wasn't a waste. It's like these kids in a school shooting. These kids get killed in a first grade class, kindergarten class, or whatever, and you got to go, what? That's terrible. It opened up the minds of the world, opened up the hearts and the minds, and it brought a certain level of spirituality, even if it was covered in tears. There was a spiritual movement, and so one cannot guess why. Like, why don't people in concentration camps die? And then you be really cynical, and you go, well, if they hadn't died, 6 million people in a prison camp, Israel as a country would have never happened. The world consciousness would have never been at the level they would allow them to do that. But after the sacrifice of all these people, the world was ready for the birth of the nation of Israel. So you don't know all the things involved, right? It's like, well, did they waste their lives? Did they deserve that? There may have been some of those people that were getting just karma from things they've done. But there was also an underlying current of other people that were saints in there. And basically they were martyrs. And they may not even have realized it. It's like, who was the girl that lived in the attic
And
in
and Frank.
Anne Franklin? Because I went to her and her sister's. There's a grave place, and they got, they don't have the actual body, but they got a tombstone up for both of them. It's next to this prisoners camp. I went to when I was in Germany, and it's really sad when you see both their names on there, how young they were. But think about that life. How many lives has she affected, both her and her sister, over 80 some years? She's a consciousness, a voice that's ringing in the background that awakens us for more greater compassion and love. And these people aren't nameless anymore. So they become a face, they become a voice. So whatever happens to you in your life, if you sit around and think of yourself, well, this is terrible, I'm a victim, or worse yet, oh, I must have did all these terrible things, so I deserve it. Bring it on to me. I deserve it, because I don't like that either. You don't know. So when it happens to you, just, okay, it's happening. Make the best out of it. I got 6 months left to live. Is that bad karma? Hey, 6 months left to live. Maybe you got a chance to really become spiritual and help others and inspire, because you're limited in time, so you're going to speed things up. So everything that is in time and space is subject to karma. Even the planet itself. If you keep throwing pesticides on the ground and it leaks into the water, poisons the water, kills the animals, it's killing the earth. You drop atomic bombs, radiate. I mean, even the earth itself is getting this karmic kick, what we're doing to it. And so it kicks back later on. Maybe California has an earthquake, a big one, boom. Volcano comes and kills me. The earth pays the karma back. You don't mess with Mother Earth. There's a karmic debt. So, yeah, ever wonder why America gets so many natural disasters? I mean, Europe doesn't get hurricanes and tornadoes. Very few earthquakes in Europe, maybe in Turkey or someplace, but pretty much America gets earthquakes, tornadoes, huge fires, um, floods, hurricanes. It's like, well, good God. I mean, it's ongoing. Every year there's mass damage. Got to ask yourself, what kind of karma does the nation of America, the United States of America, have? So there's the individual karma. There's a group karma. It could be a family of souls, maybe thousands of them together, maybe millions of them together, traveling together. And so that what happened in Europe during World War II affected a lot of people. Maybe all those people were traveling together and had joint karma they had to work off. Don't know. But in America, we seem to have a lot of karma. Slavery, what we did to Native Americans, what we did to the Japanese, what we did to all these other groups, what we did to segregation in this country. I mean, lynchings. I mean, you go on that. I mean, America is a beautiful place, but what year do you want to go back to and say this is the best we've ever been? It's an ongoing evolution. And in the process of that, we have a debt. And then America's paying that debt every time there's a hurricane, a tornado, a flood, an earthquake, etc. I really believe that the rumblings of our karma, it affects what actually happens here in America. Now, you got all these other people living here, and the fact that you're living here in this environment, you're subject to that karma. There's an overlap thing here. So karma should be, people go, oh, it's just blah, blah, blah. And I'm going, no, it's not that easy. It's like these people believe, well, when you die, I was a chaplain at volunteer chaplain at Folsom Prison. Down they had guys on death row and all this stuff. And these other chaplains are telling this guy he murdered 9 women and raped them and cut them up and everything. And he didn't believe in anything and blah, blah, blah. And he was angry, but these guys told him, before you die, confess your sins to Jesus, and you're going to be in heaven sitting right next to God. And I'm going, what? No penalty? It's like telling this guy you ate 200,000 extra calories this week, but don't worry about it, you won't gain a pound. It just, you go to the scale and you ask the scale for forgiveness, and it says, oh, you're not 300 pounds, you're only 150. No, it's not going to happen. So we have people out there live with this idea that no matter what you can do, all you got to do is on your deathbed, I'm sorry. Now, I don't want to knock anybody because a lot of people believe that. Probably keeps them sane. But the truth of the matter is, everything you do, you're responsible for. And so to think that on your deathbed, and you killed 9 people like this, 9 women like this guy did, that he's being told doesn't matter. And that same chaplain that told him that said Mahatma Gandhi was going to hell because Mahatma Gandhi was not a Christian. And I'm going, what? So God says, Mahatma Gandhi, you can't come here. You freed a nation. You didn't kill anybody, didn't beat anybody up, didn't hurt anybody. But you didn't take Jesus Christ as your savior. So therefore, you're not welcome. But we're going to take this guy that killed 9 women. Because his last moments of life, he took this insurance policy and said, well, I'm just going to confess what I got to lose, right? I'm sorry. Please, let me in. So people have a funny idea about karma. I'm telling you, whatever you've done, there's karma. Now, I will allot to the fact that I do believe in divine grace. When I'm told, when I mentioned this in India, I was at an ashram and I mentioned it, I said, well, I believe in divine grace and everything. And then the guru looked at me and says, even divine grace is earned.
Mm-hmm.
What? Because even divine grace is earned. Someplace along the line, you repented, you felt bad, you did things to improve that, change it. You've changed, and you're changing, and it's no longer you. But someplace along the line, even divine grace is earned. So, and I don't have proof of that because I really do believe in the power of total power, forgiveness, and love. But someplace along the line, in some lifetime, you did something that's worthy. Divine grace is going to gift you even greater. I don't believe that you have to pay every single debt. I believe that when you take on certain forms of high frequency Kundalini energy meditations, such as Kriya Yoga, that you can burn karma from the past. You can burn your present karma from today, and you can burn karma going forward, all from the now, by the technique that you're using. And people look at me, well, what do you mean? I said, well, in order to burn it, you have to change you. And by changing you, you're not only changing you in the now, you're changing you for the better in the future. And you've changed what you were in the past. It's all connected. So when you change you now, you're actually wiping out karma. That's how you get rid of your karma. You're really changing the frequency across the whole now, past, present, future. It's only now. So whatever you do in the now affects the karma forwards and backwards, if there is such a thing. And so simultaneously, you can get rid of your karma. Because a lot of people think, oh, it's karma, you got to do it 18 lifetimes. Well, I'll tell you what, if you wake up, literally spiritually wake up and realize, I remember God. Oh, God and I are one. What am I doing in this dream? You wake up and you realize I never was this dream. I was never born. I never died. I didn't have any pains. I didn't shoot anybody in the war. Nobody died. Nobody suffered. There is no karma because you realize this whole dream life never existed. So therefore, if it never existed, and none of us are real except for God, the one consciousness, then there is absolutely no karma. That's like, what? What? But you have karma because you're in this time and space capsule. You believe in time, you believe in space, and therefore you believe in birth, and you believe in all the stuff that happens during the life. You believe in pain, suffering, joy, bliss, all this stuff. And then you have to believe in death, and then you have to believe in some afterworld and seven heavens or whatever, and angels and rainbow bodies and astral bodies and casual bodies and little bodies that float around, orbs and all these things. And then you got to believe, well, then there's reincarnation. I got to believe reincarnation. It's a big cycle. But none of it was ever real. None of it is ever real. So you are going on this premise that karma is holding you. The only thing that's holding you here is memory of the ego, holding on to an identity. I'm Pontea. I'm Reverend Bill. So we have a story. That's why we both have bodies. Some bodies better looking than other bodies, but we both have bodies, right? So none of it's real. And all these people out there running around telling you, I am God. I'm your guru. Come through me. And I'm going, no, we are God. This is a us thing. There's only one. So people tell you, well, in the last lifetime, I remember 30 lifetimes. I was all these people. And somebody asked me, is that true? That guy's saying that. Is it possible? And I'm saying, since there's only one consciousness, we were all John the Baptist. We were all Jesus. We were all Mother Mary. There's nobody we weren't because it's all God. Oh, I think, oh, no, I really was that person. Well, that's their ego back again. And in their little dream world, they were that person. But in essence, since there's only one experiencer, God, that God's experiencing all these things through these little separate entities called egos. We all think we're separate. We're nothing but drops of the ocean in our mind. We're just drops of this ocean. We're just little drops. Until we realize that, no, we're not the drop. We are the whole ocean. It's the ocean. We are the ocean. We're not just the drops. So as long as the drops think they're special, think that they can operate on their own independently, using their free will to do whatever they want to do, then they're believers in karma. Because you and I are not going to escape karma in a body. You got a body? Just to maintain that body, you have to have karma. So somebody's, great gurus or whatever, if they got a body, they got to hold that body because they can't be perfect. If they're perfect, they don't have a body. So some great being coming to you has to actually bring their vibration down for you, and you have to bring yours up to see them. But I'm talking about gurus, teachers, and stuff. So, oh, he's perfect. He's got a body. Now, some of us have had naughty palm leaf readings, and they'll tell you have all this karma, and you got to do this and that. My readings say I have no karma. So what does that mean? I got a body. So it doesn't matter. What matters is You're here to love. And that's the most positive action that you can take, love. And the consequences and the byproducts and the after effects and the side effects of love, you can handle that. It's bliss, it's joy, it's peace. But then you got people out there that they want to take a shortcut to that. Shortcut, I don't want to spend all that time meditating and doing 20, 30, 40 years of all these, you know, things, to get there. I'm gonna go out and take some ayahuasca. I'm gonna take some mushrooms. I'm gonna do LSD. I'm gonna do these drugs and LSD. Yeah, great. Well, unfortunately, there's karma for that. When you're meditating and you try to reach a certain level, first off, that's not what you should be doing. Meditating, yes. Trying to reach a certain level, no. You should be meditating to love God. End of story. But the rest of these people, they want an experience, and not just once, because you meet, usually they go back for multiple trips. And I admit that ayahuasca or marijuana or some of these things can treat a schizophrenic or bipolar person or manic depressive, if maybe that's the same thing, or somebody's got bad depression or PTSD. There's certain things that they could snap people out. So I'm saying, as an emergency triage, I could see that somebody would get some good from that. But if they're going back 80 times and they're doing video after video about all these great experiences, and they talk about these great shamans in South America and Central America, and I go, how do you know they're great? They're drug dealers. They take you in the room and you're taking ayahuasca and you're pooping, you're throwing up, you're getting sick, you got stomach cramps, you feel awful. I mean, a lot of people don't have great experiences, but then you get to see these visions for a few minutes. You're chasing the experience and your intentions are not set on love. Go back to your intentions. So what kind of karma from that? So you think you're obtaining some kind of great level, but you only do that by abusing your body, by taking these drugs and your mind. So I've heard a couple beautiful stories, and I think you've heard a couple beautiful ones too, where people have had an opening one or two, three experiences or something, and they're wonderful. And then hopefully they stopped at that point. So I'm not judging anybody for lack of trying, but it's a people going that route are looking for a shortcut and they don't want to do all the heavy lifting. And that's what it's about. So what was the question? So when it comes to karma and substances, on a spiritual path,
Chuck Jarrett's.
we'll edit this, I hope.
Nice.
All right. I'll start and you can edit it to it.
Sure.
When it comes to karma and taking substances, it goes back to intentions and it gets back to effort. You put in effort in meditating, you put in effort in praying, you put in effort in serving and being there for others and showing compassion and doing the spiritual work, reading the books, doing all these things, taking care of your body, your mind, your spirit, your friends, all that. When you do that, you get a different karmic path than if you do the shortcuts through the mushrooms, the LSD, and all these other drugs and plants. Oh, it's plant-based, it's natural. Well, so is arsenic. It's natural when you take it. So it's like, come on, don't give me that. It's plant-based. A lot of things are plant-based, but that doesn't mean they're all good for you. So you're going to develop a different spiritual path going through artificial means and going through the harder work over here. It's like the guy at the gym doing steroids, walks around, and you're just doing the regular exercises, a slow process. And you got lower muscles. This person's going, because they're doing that steroid, right? Well, down the road years, the steroid starts to damage them mentally and physically. Just like going down the road doing all these drugs has a karmic debt, physically and mentally and spiritually. So it's just not noticeable because we got so many people out there in the new age media, the new age YouTube, and all these things, posting wonderful things about all these wonderful things that happen. And all these shamans are bringing people down, big, huge groups, you know, in a room, and then they all do this thing together. And these guys are raking. If they were so holy, why are they charging everybody? They could just do this for free. Right now, they don't. It's there's nothing free. There's nothing holy about these guys. I'm sorry. There may be some. I don't want to cast aspersions on all of them. But just because you're giving people drugs doesn't make you a great guru spiritual person. All right. So in native cultures, do they have a more genuine, quicker path to the spiritual world than those that aren't? I think it's greatly overrated. I think we have adopted this culture. We want to believe in all these shamans and medicine men and all these people. So
Yeah,
it's,
it's like a
and
false.
I'll go back to my original thing.
Mhm.
Original thing is
Mhm.
doing these things is for the experience. You want to experience the supernatural. You're not doing them to love God. Different thing. Meditation, just want to love God. And you're not looking for, you shouldn't be looking for the experiences. If you are, you're going to be dragging you're not going to find it. It's only when you surrender to the divine consciousness, you surrender to that divine love.
Mhm.
You're there to love, not to get anything. You don't even want to try to get self-realization, God realization. It doesn't matter. You want to have, Kundalini energy stuff. You don't want to do all this stuff. It doesn't matter. The only thing that matters, is loving the divine. Loving the divine. So, and when these people are doing drugs, barfing on the floor, I don't think they're loving God that much.
Yeah, yeah. Whether it's ayahuasca, mushrooms, or alcohol. I mean, look at what alcohol's done to our country. How many, cases of DUI, DV, domestic violence do we see because of alcohol? Parents hitting their children, spouses fighting over alcohol, and it's in every restaurant, and it's so normalized just because, Jesus made wine, people think alcohol is somehow sacred. But I don't really see any benefits to alcohol either, to be honest. I see it as like a great hindrance for spiritual growth as well.
So that's what it's all. It's all gets down to karma. So there's a penalty or there's a price tag on everything you do. Now, I've heard a couple experiences, and you did too, where I go, I can understand how that opened up somebody's eyes. Great. You got what you look for, stop. Now let's start working for it the real way. So
Yeah.
and we have a whole world that's doing that. We're piercing this veil of the supernatural, the other side of this thing, often artificially induced through drugs. The membrane there that separates the worlds is damaged.
Mhm.
And we're letting this dark energy back in. And I'm not so sure that's a good thing. And I think it's causing more problems than it's been given credit for. Anyway,
Yeah.
I got off on a dark subject there, but I personally, if anybody watches my videos, reads my book, number one, okay, Reverend Bill's is anti-drugs, he's anti-alcohol, he's anti-cigarettes, he's anti-marijuana. All right. You don't have to agree with me. And I'm not saying there's sin. If you want to do them. I don't know. It's your choice. I'm just telling you the consequences. There are karmic consequences for all that. That's all I'm saying. So if you're aware of that, good. And if you do it anyway, then that's even more consequential because I believe that somebody in their intentions, they believe that there's something spiritual there. They're naive, or they've been told, "Oh, this is good." This medicine man told, "No, this is good. This is going to help you," and they believe it, and they have a little help off of it. Great. That's different than the guy that goes there and he's done it several times and he knows. Well, I want to see snakes again. And I want to see gods, and I want to see.
Yeah.
No, you're not naive anymore. Now you're chasing the addiction of the experience.
Yeah.
A few times, yeah, I get it. I get it. They can't meditate. They can't get their mind focused. And this gives them some instantaneous response. Well, the instantaneous, easy answers are not necessarily the best nutritional spiritual food we need to digest.
Mhm.
It's better to do the work. And people don't want to hear that. Do the work.
Yep. Yeah, I agree 100%. And I think, remember you telling me a couple of years ago that Pantea, if you even recommend people to do it, then their karma also gets on, like the doctor recommends it. So if somebody has a good experience, maybe good, but if somebody has a bad experience, suddenly their life falls apart. That's also the karma on the person that recommended it. So I never recommend it ever to
Yeah,
people.
because you don't know
Mm.
somebody. Okay, an example. I was working with somebody, and their brother was the younger brother was in a group home, for mentally crazy people. I don't know what the good word I could come up with to say that, but he had some problems. And he'd been there like 40 years. I'm going, what was going on? He was like valedictorian at his high school, 4.0. He's going to go to Stanford, and he goes to Europe for the summer. And he did LSD 2 or 3 times in Europe, and he never came down from the high. It screwed him up 3 times. Third time, because there's people who've done LSD hundreds of times, right? So you don't know if you're ever going to be that person that one time screws you up. So it's like, wow. So the guy had no life left. I was like, so when you give advice to people, especially people that are watching this thing, and there's a lot of people we know give advice, you're responsible for the. If you tell people to do stuff, you're responsible for that. That's why if you ask me what to do, I'll never tell you what to do. I'll say you exercise your free will, follow your heart, and here's some choices. You could do this, or you could do whatever you want to do, but you have options. But it's always your choice. I never make it for people. I never make it for people. Well, what do you think? I should marry this guy, that guy? Nope, I don't do that either. I don't do. Nope, nope, nope. Those are all karmic commitments, and the choices you make is part of the learning and it's part of the evolution. So if you're not making the choices, you're not evolving. That's sort of like me telling you, boom, boom, this is going to happen. Don't do it. Well, I learned a long time ago that doesn't help them. Even though I'm right, they had to go through that experience. So your best bet is to give them advice that would help them handle that experience coming up. How are they going to learn?
Yeah. That's such so important what you said. I've learned that I listen to you, so I don't want to repeat mistakes, and I love that you told me, like, don't let people learn from their karma. So I'm letting people learn from their karma and not giving advice anymore. So speaking of protection, because you're a very protective, masculine energy teacher, I would say, could you talk about that, like feminine energy, masculine energy? What's happening in the world to men? Why have they become so occupied with hair gel instead of protecting the weak, and what's happening to women, basically feminine, masculine energies, whatever you want to share about
Well,
that.
actually, this whole world right now is going through a gender dysphoria of some kind, um, at least at an emotional level. And guys are being told that for the 1950s, the 40s, the 30s, where men would spank women in movies and stuff, and like John Wayne would spank this woman, then she'd fall in love with him, and they'd force a kiss, and the person would always, oh, it's wonderful. So we gave a bad, toxic, masculine energy forever before. And now there's this transition, like, well, we don't do that anymore. Now these guys are kind of like, well, what do we do? Who? And we beat up on guys for so long that they're afraid to do anything. And it's like, I'm watching ads on TV. Manscaped, they show this guy shaving his chest hair, right? I'm going, what's next? Shaving my pits? Come on. So we've made these things. We're changing guys into this softer thing. Now, that's okay. You want to teach people to have feelings, but do women really want to see a guy break down and cry on them emotionally all the time? I'm serious. And I don't think I'm not one to say, oh, the dog, I'm just gonna cry and you gotta soothe me. In our native DNA, the men are caveman. He was a provider, protector, the warrior. He had to fight off other people. He had to protect his mate. He had to protect his tribe. And now that responsibility's gone. And we got women that want to be more powerful and more in control. Understand that. Here's the deal. Both sides have lost the equilibrium. This is not about crossing over and becoming more of some or less of something. It's about, well, Yogananda, for example, wherever that's over here.
Yeah.
Yogananda, there's a soft frequency and energy that's both masculine and feminine. That's the ultimate thing we want to get back together. We don't want to change every guy into a, emotional rag and the guy that would never protect anybody and he wouldn't, stand up for his rights. And we don't want women to be, having to go out there. And I'm sorry, I don't like women professional boxing. I think what we're doing to women is terrible. I don't see that as an uplifting thing for society to have these beautiful women go out there and beating each other in the head and kickboxing and martial arts and all that. I'm sorry. Now, martial arts, judo, karate, yeah, okay, I can see that. It's a good thing to learn. I'm talking about what's happening like at the White House with mixed martial arts, where they're kicking people in the head, they're trying to kill people. I used to box in a ring. I never lost a fight, 4 fights, right? But it was like, I look at that now and what a stupid thing to do. What was I doing to my brain? I mean, you took punches, right? So as a society, we need to, I see it still in the Roman Empire. And then when I saw that happening at the White House, all I could think of was the Roman Colosseum. And there's Caesar out there going, make the Caesar great again, right? Make Italy great again. I'm going, what? Anyway, so we have to take men and women and we got to respect them as they are. Where to be? I can realize another thing. As I'm talking about this gender thing, people trying to find their place in society, where now, guys, when I was young, there was no women bosses. Now they got women bosses, and everything's changed, right? So guys haven't adjusted to this yet because their fathers haven't taught them what they need to be learning to handle the new. And they don't have the skills. And the women now are going, I'm independent. I'm capable of making my own money. And just because you bought me a dinner doesn't mean I owe you a damn thing, not even a handshake at the end. So come on, get off that. And I got rights. And so they're in that environment where they really don't know what the hell's going on. They really don't. And society has not taught them. I probably got to write a book to teach them. But they have to get into this new world. And at the same time that's going on between the roles, and I believe this is a fact, I think one of the reasons we're seeing this gender issue is after generations of somebody being a warrior guy, all of a sudden they come into this lifetime, now there's this beautiful woman, but they still got this warrior spirit. And it's like, so they're adjusting to that. And some of these guys were coming after lifetimes. It's like we're some place where things are switching roles because they didn't learn their lessons. And I got to learn how the other side feels. So I think a lot of that's going on.
Mm.
So I understand why somebody feels I'm in the wrong body. I don't want to be. Well, yeah, you got to accept who you are now. But yeah, you probably had lifetimes of this other, and now you're going this direction. So that issue's going on. But men and women really don't know their roles anymore. They don't know how to relate. And it's worldwide. Japanese, I mean, they're not even getting married. They're not even dating. You go to all these countries, China, dates, having children. It's like the Western world is not having children. It's only Africa and a few places in countries that are, well, I don't know where. Even India's got a population, decline, and China declining, and so it's like, whoa. So I believe that we're in an era that it calls for, since Babaji came back and gave us Kriya Yoga, he gave it to a householder,
Mhm.
Larry Masha, a householder. And even Sirateshwar, Yogananda's guru, was a householder, was married. I think the baton has been passed. We don't need people in caves anymore. We don't need people in monasteries anymore or ashrams. What we need are men that are vehicles for bringing children of the light into this world. They need light-filled fathers and husbands to create families where there's light, because there's women out there with light and they need to find men that have light. So to become a nun now or to become a monk now is not helping the world, because good souls that are ripe and ready to expand and grow and evolve and shine, they need a vehicle. And they're not going to be able to come in through these lesser souls, where they're going to be in some family where they're going to be taught how to kill and steal and garbage. And they need to come into some place where it's an environment where they can learn to meditate and be good people. And because they're good people coming in and they need somebody to move it forward next level. So I'm telling people, especially my young guys I know, no, you really want to do something for this world? Become a great husband, become a better father. That's a job that nobody's putting in for. Not many fathers are what you'd put into the Hall of Fame of fatherhood. Not many.
Mhm.
It's rare. If we had an application for this process and you had to fill out a job application to be a father, there wouldn't be many fathers at all.
Mhm.
They're not around. They're not there to raise your children. When you got children and then you get a divorce and then you're not in the family anymore, and then you and the ex-wife are fighting, you don't see each other anymore, it's very hard to have an influence on that child. And then when a child is an adult, you have no influence on them really. You have to get them when they're young. So you have to be there. And if you are divorced, make sure that you're there for them in spite of that. And if you're a stepfather, step up to the plate. Be a good stepfather. Be there to make up for the difference. You're not replacing their father, but you're giving them somebody to follow, and you teach them and you love them. So it's a shame, but we're in place now, and these guys in jail because I spent time. I was gonna say I spent time in jail, but I have to emphasize I spent time in jail as a chaplain. It's different, right? And good fathers. None of them know how to be a father. And when you talk to them, none of them had a father hanging around. They're all raised by single mothers, pretty much.
Mhm.
And they weren't getting advice. They certainly weren't getting financial advice, spiritual advice, school advice, advice on how to eat, manners, all these things that you absorb from your father. So if you don't have an example, we have problems. And so we just had Father's Day this weekend, and I'm looking back at all these people, and I'm thinking, How many people do I know that really had great fathers? There's some people out there that claim they have. Okay, great. Bless them. But most of the people I know, either that father was totally absent, so they were pretty much, if they weren't absent physically, they were absent emotionally, and they were certainly absent spiritually. So you had to kind of carve out your own womb to crawl into and absorb and grow and become whatever you are. And these single parents, what a job for them. They're trying to be both, trying to fill both both roles, and you can't do that. You can try, but it's not the same as having the guy there to teach the kid how to throw a baseball and take him on a camping trip and just having a man-to-man talk about facts of life, or a man-to-man talk about how to treat other people or schoolwork or whatever. And if they're not talking to them when they're young, these conversations aren't going to not ever take place when they're older. 30-year-old guys not going to listen to a father that's never been around. It's too late. And so what's trouble to guys today is their images of what manhood is, they don't have a clear picture. They see the old movies where they're spanking the women in the movies, John Wayne spank. I just watched the movie, John Wayne spanking her right on her panties. And I'm going, what? I mean, you couldn't make a movie like that now, but they did in the 50s, the 60s, I tell you. So they don't have an idea how to treat women. They don't know about respect. And women don't know how to treat guys. Let's go with this two swords. There's two sides to this thing. I talked to a group of people yesterday. It was yesterday or this weekend. We talked about women looking for somebody. They got a shopping list. Yeah, but the guy's got to be tall. He's got to be handsome. He's got to be intelligent. He has to have a sense of humor. He has to have a damn good job or a good career. He's going to be good eventually. He has to have a good car. He can't have been previous married, bringing kids in. He can't do this. He can't be that. He can't be bald. He can't be short. Can't be. Guys' list is like this: female, likes me. That's it. They don't even care if they're fat, skinny, whatever. Guys are pretty easy. Women, they got to fall in all these categories because they're measuring them up because it's based on spiritual, physical, caveman DNA. In the old days, you had a guy to protect you, and he better be good with a sword, and he better be good with, taking out and protecting his family, and he better be able to get that saber-toothed tiger if the tiger comes in or beats up the dinosaur, and he's got to be able to provide, and he's got to be able to protect. These guys aren't protecting anybody now. And they don't have to fight off any saber-toothed tigers. They don't have to fight off any dragons. They don't have to fight off anything. And the women, in a lot of cases, make more money than they do. And it's like, and they're still living in mama's basement, and they're 40 years old. You go, do you want to date a guy who's still living in the basement in the house, never left? You come back. So we got a real paradox here because we got guys don't know how to be guys. And women have become so independent, they really don't need them. They certainly don't need those guys. And so therefore, relationships now, it's a lot of speed dating and a lot of dating online and all that stuff. And they go out for a few times, had a good time, boom, boom, boom. And it's like, where's the commitment? Where's the seriousness? So in my days, we met them in school or on the job, or hanging around a campus or something. I guess some guys probably met him at a bar or something, but my friends know. My friends all met him in a school or in some, in a demonstration. I don't know. I did go to demonstrations, but some of my friends met people in demonstrations. So, and so we have to choose someplace along the line on who and what we are. And as older guys out there, and there are people out there, even some older than me. I know that's getting less and less, but older guys, we need to mentor younger guys. I used to mentor foster children and try to teach them stuff. And that was a lot because at 17, 18 years old, they pretty much have lost focus. The branches are bent, and so many people are afraid of mentor programs because let's get real. You want an old guy taking out your young son on the weekend? Nowadays, you don't know what crazy people run around there. So nobody's really pushing mentor programs anymore because guys can't be trusted. It's a real shame, but the good guys, they're almost afraid to do it because they don't want to be accused of nothing. I didn't do nothing. I never know what the kid's gonna. So when I say mentor program now, it's you go to a school or you go to the foster house, wherever it's at. You go to a hospital. You meet them in the location where they're protected, and your reputation is protected as the mentor. You don't want to be doing stuff, taking people cars and stuff. So that's what our nation's down to now. You can't even really have a mentor program in the real days. Like Native Americans said, they mentioned this, the shaman or this medicine man would take all these young boys and then they would do a sweat lodge and they would dump them out in the boonies someplace and, for 3 days alone. But the truth of the matter is, I talked to all these guys, they were never ever alone. Even in the old days, there was always the father or the medicine man or somebody be hiding in the bush with binoculars. And even though they thought they were all by themselves in the boonies, right? They were always protected. So, but there's something about throwing young men out there to the wilderness and testing their grit. I think we need that. We need this. You get to be 13, 14 years old. Where's the test of manhood for these kids? Not going to get it in the Boy Scouts, and not going to get it at school. So some ways, the old ways, like what they did tribally, indigenous people, testing people, whether it's Hawaii or the Navajo Nation or wherever it is, there was a program where they would mentor these young kids into what they needed for that life in the tribe or the reservation. So, yeah, it's a big, huge thing. So there was a song out there a number of years ago by Willie Nelson, "Don't let your sons grow up to be cowboys." And I'm saying, don't let your sons grow up to be wusses. Come on. Let them be men, which means they got to start taking responsibilities. They don't have to go beat everybody up. That's not manhood. If the guy's able to use humor and the ability to talk to defuse a fight, that's even greater skill, right? I mean, if you can make the other side laugh and they walk away, don't beat you up, that's great, right? So there's a lot of skills involved in survival. You don't always have to beat somebody in the head with a club. But these guys aren't doing anything. Nothing. It's like, so it's not all their fault. Society is part to blame. We put so many rules, restrictions, and don't, the guys don't know if they touch this woman, they're in trouble. Oh my God, I'm in trouble because do I kiss her? I can't kiss her. If I kiss her and she didn't say yes, I'm in trouble. So there's all these issues. And there's some guys it doesn't make any difference. They're going to do whatever they want to do, and then there's the ones that really need the schooling. Because if you're sensitive about it, at least you're leaning in the right direction. So, yeah. So manhood and womanhood, both sides need to be mentored by older women and older men. Somebody that's has a shot at altering and changing. But it's not about becoming more masculine or becoming more feminine. It's about becoming, for a woman, becoming more wise, more organized, more analytical, more of a leader, more powerful with their yes and no's. In other words, those kind of masculine qualities. And for the men, it's becoming more conscious of compassion, love, forgiveness, nurturing, not crying and, but nurturing with compassion and empathy. doesn't mean you go around and cry all the time. They get the wrong scope on that. It's about being strong warrior and honoring both sides of this energy. Because a woman with nothing but love and compassion, if she doesn't have wisdom, she's going to raise a spoiled child, and she's going to end up nurturing a abusing husband. Because, well, I got to be loving and caring, forgiving. No, you don't. Not always. You have to have the wisdom to know this is, no, you slick me in the face. That's not, no, we're not going to say I'm sorry is, as it was before. No, there's a price. So, and for men, they can't go around, well, analyzing everything. Well, this blah, blah, it's black and white, and there's numbers and data. No, they got to realize sometimes you make decisions without data, you use intuition. So the strongest thing women have to teach men is the use of heart-focused intuition. The greatest thing that men need to teach women is wisdom and analytical and data for decision making. So you see, they're different, but there's a time and a place for both. And it kind of dampers and puts it in the middle. So it kind of puts it in the middle. And when you get in the middle, like Yogananda, he was like, had this soft side, compassion, and he had this wisdom side, strength of a warrior. And women, because I always say warriors, women can be some of the biggest warriors I've ever seen. It's not about going out and sword fighting everybody. There's a power in this wisdom. I can do it. This warrior mentality. You can't beat me. I'm going to do it anyway. I can fix it. I can make it work. So it's all about an inner warrior in that inner war, fighting those battles. And it's not masculine or feminine, but you need that masculine energy to go boom. And if you're too much one or the other, you're in trouble. That's what I say about that. I probably insulted a lot of people out there. I'm going to go, holy Toledo, man. Whoa. No. I mean, a man, when you take on a relationship, you're there. I don't give up. I'm old school. You're there. You're there to protect, to give. I don't care if your wife makes 10 times more money than you do. Not about money. It's about you supporting her and protecting her. And a lot of that is emotional. So it's not about who makes the most money in the house, because that creates all kinds of issues. Oh, I make more money. No. And if you're not compassionate with each other, we have trouble. If you're not wise with each other, you're in trouble. So you both have to have the wisdom, and you both have to have the compassion. And ultimately, we start training some young people to become spiritual family members. And then they become spiritual fathers. And they take what they've learned in that spiritual family to their own family. And that's how we improve worldwide. But if only the downtrodden guys in and out of jail and have 20 kids with 20 different women, if only those guys are producing out there, we're not elevating this world. We're lowering the DNA. And if only the more ignorant people, I'll be really careful here, only the more ignorant people are having big, huge, large families everywhere, and they're populating the world with their beliefs and their stuff. And yet the people that are considered, I'm spiritual. Like, well, if you don't produce anybody, you haven't helped the world too much. I mean, if you want to be celibate, and no, but they don't want to be celibate. They still want to have friends with benefits. But it's like, where's the responsibility? Where's you adding to the value of this earth? Because we can't go on with only the weak and the disabled mentally, physically, and spiritually producing children. You have to have all producing. You got to have intelligent people producing. You got to have spiritual people producing. You can be poor and spiritual, that's okay. But if you're not spiritual, then it's just a game of lust, and children are born through lust or accidents. And right now you want to be able to, well, when was the last time you ever heard a woman say, we planned on this child, this is beautiful, and we're waiting for this child? Planned on it? Really? Okay. That's what you should be looking for. You want spiritual children? Then you meditate, you work together for months before you even try to impregnate, before you try to conceive. You're working at the spiritual level. And I asked this guru I was working with to write a book on this, and I helped him get to about 80 or 90 pages on it. But he basically talked about, in India in the old days, this couple got together and they wanted, so there wouldn't be this gratuitous, lustful sex for months. There'd be this getting your body fine-tuned spiritually through meditation and meditating together. And then you do these sacred energy things together, and then you join, and you're radiating this love outwards while you're doing this, inviting the soul to come reside in that womb and to bless the union. And so then when they got pregnant, and then they would talk to the child inside, and they would chant to the child inside, and they would love the child inside, touching, praying, all that stuff. And then when the child came, then began their education. But they started the real education pre-conception, and then during conception. So when conception was taking place, it wasn't lustful. It was like a Kundalini energy. It was like that plus sex together, very beautiful energy. But the energy was flowing into the womb, to the child. So we've been a far ways from there, far away. Now people get conceived in the backseat of a car or an airplane or someplace. It's not the same. Not the same.
You've given us a perfect formula for basically the spiritual families, like moving forward on earth, like how men can become spiritual fathers, how women can become spiritual mothers, and how they can conceive a child from a high conscious perspective. So we're attracting these high vibrational souls to come lift humanity. And so helpful, so helpful. And speaking of that, can you talk a little bit about soulmates, karmic relationships, divine unions, because so many people come to my office and they tell me they've met their soulmate, right? And you and I know that that's like such a rare thing. So could you talk about that, soulmates, karmic relation, wherever you feel like sharing?
Yeah, I just had somebody contact me saying, "Well, can you talk about twin flames?" Which is basically the same thing. I think twin flames and soulmates and interchangeable descriptions here. First off, it's much more rare than people realize. Everybody likes to think they found their soulmate, even though they found somebody they're in love with. Maybe they're both in love with each other. Maybe it's a beautiful relationship. Maybe it's just really lovey-dovey. But a soulmate is not about just romance. You've hooked up with somebody and been with them several lifetimes. Sometimes lifetimes there's nothing happening. You're not incarnate together. Sometimes you change genders, and so then you don't have a relationship, and then you're just really good friends. So it's possible a woman could be really a good friend with another woman, and it feels like this is really kind of like interesting, but it's not lesbian, it's not sexual, but it's like a friendship that's just like wow, like sisterhood. That's the word I'm looking for, almost like sisters. And same thing could happen to guys, I guess. But when you eventually are destined to reconnect, then everything should be right. But you're not coming together just to experience bliss and joy. Your soulmate is there actually as a co-creator of your life, just like they're there for you, you're there for them. It's a joint evolutionary journey. And you've kind of promised each other, you made a vow someplace along the line that you're there to elevate and help each other on their spiritual evolution. So the person coming in there may be critical and not let you drink and no, don't do the drugs and be really hardcore in certain things and you're getting your ego up high and they shoot you down and make you humble. All these things were like, oh, that can't be my soulmate. They're trying to teach me, they're trying to change me. No, well, I'm telling you, that is more likely than somebody that's just hunky-dory and bliss 24. It's not about being total bliss out. I've written something that shows there's all beautiful stuff from it, yes. But there's also this cosmic vow where both of you are there to help each other wake up and whatever that takes. And so, and I think I wrote a paper. I did. I wrote something I posted about the second phase is how they get together and everything, because you can skip lifetimes and everything else. But it's not a set thing. It's about when you need to get together, not just because you want to get together. That's different. And it's different than just romance. Different. Because you can have beautiful relationships, just pure romance. It's nice, you like each other. That's great. But this is deeper water. It's deeper. And it's much more, it's a much deeper, more spiritual, more directional, more fusing together of energy. But it's all about energy and the frequencies that each of these soul mates have, or twin souls, or whatever you want to call them, or sparks, or whatever. The frequencies are what's vibrating. They look different personalities, but their frequencies, like a tuning fork. This tuning fork, you hit it, it makes this one go because it's the same frequency. Oh, they're both, all of a sudden they're both. So it's like attunement to the frequency of each other. That's the difference between that and lustful, sexual, romantic. It's just chemistry there. Biological chemistry feels great. Everybody's happy. They read poetry, everybody's happy, great. This one's frequency and vibration. And sometimes recognizing that is what it's all about. It's when you meet somebody you're literally in tune with. You ever wonder what that means? You're in tune with them. Well, we got tuning forks, right? You're in tune, right? So I'm saying when you meet somebody you're in tune with, both vibrating the same frequency, then you get a chance to totally evolve because you both have the same agenda, not just to get help, but to be a help to each other. It's not 50-50. It's 100-100. You do your 100, they do their 100. And you're not there to think what you're missing, because you're missing something that's not your soulmate. Oh, you fill me. You fill me up. No. You're not there to be their clown at their circus. You're there to be, at some levels, you're their spiritual guide, the ultimate friendship. Because sometimes it's not the lifetime you guys get together and get married, but you might find some guy, like in your case, you might just find some guy that's just so spiritually attuned to you that friendship is greater than a relationship, because the guy doesn't want to ruin it, the girl doesn't want to ruin it. They just have this wonderful relationship. Why has that happened? Because there's a frequency there and they feel it. And the other desire is not that important. What's important is that they're there to fulfill their vow, their commitment. It's about loyalty. But all these things we already talked about. It's about karma. It's about all these things. It all comes together in a format of a soulmate. And so people have gotten overboard with, this is my soulmate. And I talked to him, yeah, well, no, that was my second wife ago. That didn't work out. Obviously, I was her soulmate, but she didn't. No, wasn't your soulmate. You're not. It's not what it's about. So we're too easy to label everything soulmate. In reality, it's very, very, very few souls. Very, very few. But both souls feel a oneness. So they're trying to wake up to the oneness of everything, but they've woke up to the oneness of each other. And that's a beautiful thing. That's where it starts. So Lord Shiva, and what was her name? You know,
Parvati.
yeah, there they were, soulmates, right? Uh, so that's kind of what it's about. And that is a rare formation in the cosmos. It was a rare thing to come together. And we cheapen it by every relationship we have, soulmate. You don't go looking for soulmate. That's not in your hands. It's like a magnet. If it's there, if they're here this lifetime and they're supposed to, then, but they could come in a lifetime and you're 50 years old and they come in a lifetime and they're 10, they're 40 years younger than you. Yeah, that ain't gonna work. So that ain't gonna happen that lifetime, but um, but there's when a time and a place is right, then the heavens will open up and that will be scheduled. That will happen because it's supposed to happen. Not because you want it to happen. Because sometimes you got to learn things other than from your soulmate. You still got stuff you got to work out and other relationships and other things. But just because you haven't met your soulmate now doesn't mean you won't meet your soulmate when you're in an old age home. Maybe you meet somebody, oh my God, where are you at all my life? You're 95 years old. Oh, right. Anyway, you don't know. It's not preordained in the sense that you spin the roulette wheel and it lands on a number. No, great, I'm lucky I win. No, this is a divine cosmic timing that the higher consciousness is dealing with, not this mind brain time and space world. This is beyond that. And so what I'm saying also is a lot of this soulmate stuff doesn't just happen on the physical earth level. It happens in the other dimensions. And it happens when you're sleeping. And it happens when you're having an out-of-body experience. And it happens when you die, when it happens when you're waiting to be born. And it's interdimensional. In fact, most of the time there's more time on the other side than of the veil than here. And that's where a lot of this stuff will take place, where you can help each other. And there's no sex at that level. It's strictly the ultimate divine friendship, a sealing of one. And that's where it's most powerful on the other side. But everybody wants it in this earth life. And this earth life is, you got lessons to learn, and it doesn't always happen. So everybody's holding out for that divine one. And I'm telling people, if you find a good one, hang on to it. They don't all have to be soulmates. And if you find a good one, and then you think you found your soulmate later, you don't give up. You stay with the first one you found. So it's just not rocket science, but it's called cosmic destiny. And so the idea is just open your heart, send your love to divine. You're just giving love all the time. Your love will find your soulmate wherever they're at. Another country, another time, another century, in heaven. It's all now, right? Remember, time is all now. So you just send your love out to your soulmate wherever they're at. And if they're not in your present now awareness, there's always a connection. So you can receive from a soulmate without ever even having seen them. And you can receive from a soulmate, you meet a stranger and you get some information or you feel good or something. And maybe just for a moment, that person that you're talking to is what's possessed is a terrible a word, but for a moment, your soulmate is that person. And then it's gone. But for a moment, that soulmate is there and presents energy or whatever for you. Doesn't mean that person is it, but that energy is temporarily occupying that place in your time and space. I don't think anybody's ever talked about that before, but I'm just telling you that because it came to me. So there you go. So that's soulmates, that's twin souls, that's sparks, whatever. But if one just stays attuned and sends love out to the cosmos, just send love out. Your divine soulmate will find it, and you open a channel and you will feel it. You don't have to be living in the same dimension or living in the same time or the same space or the same anything, because we're all tuned into that one consciousness. So I hope that answered your question. Probably not the way you wanted, because I wrote a very romantic, beautiful thing about it and everything. Then I started getting deeper on it, and I'm thinking, well, yeah, everybody wanted to hear that, including me, and it's wonderful because I'm saying it's a much deeper commitment, different than a commitment from a disciple to a guru, because that's an unbalanced commitment. One has power over the other. It's touching their feet, and this is equal, like two gurus coming together. No one's above, no one's below. It's equal.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense, Reverend Bill, because like if the ultimate goal of this life is moksha, liberation, then our soulmate would be helping us to elevate, right, to our God consciousness. They wouldn't be here to fill some kind of a human need, right? Like when people meet their soulmate, like you said, complete me. No, it's like, do they elevate me to my God consciousness? That would be someone that's a soulmate, right? And the heart telepathy that you described, I've experienced that since I've been single. Like I feel that telepathy with a soul, even though I haven't met them. I feel like there's some presence. And so that makes perfect sense. Just sending I love you to that being and trusting. And you said it's divine timing when we meet them. So we shouldn't be like writing a list and trying to manifest love, because that'll bring in karma, right? So we should be just allowing God to bring that person to us if we're meant to have it.
Yeah, we get too set up with the perfect man, the perfect woman. Good grief. Yeah, they got to be all these things. Then you meet somebody that's lacking a couple of those, and you miss them. They could have been somebody good for you.
Totally. Yes. And then the topic of, so speaking of like gurus and, student relationships, the topic of humility, and criticism and ego. I've noticed like a lot of spiritual people, I work with them, and then the moment I point out something of their shadow, they don't want to come for sessions anymore. And I've heard you say that too, that people have a really hard time taking criticism. Like everybody already thinks they're enlightened. So could you talk about the importance of humility, change, criticism?
Yeah, first off, we're living in an age of every woman's a goddess. Every guy is a shaman, guru, teacher, cosmic king. And I'm going, really? A few people are listening to me, a few, because I keep teaching, as you expand your Kundalini energy, as you expand your frequency and your vibration, as that expands, you should be shrinking the ego. You should be shrinking that attachment to all these. And if you're out there telling people, I'm the greatest thing since sliced bread, I mean, me and God are like this, man. I sit on the throne. You know, humility is one of the greatest weaknesses. The lack of humility. It's one of the greatest weaknesses that we have currently. You go to India and you meet all these gurus and stuff, and everybody's Get thousands of people touching their feet and praising them and waiting on them hand and foot, literally hand and foot, giving them their teas, giving them this, giving them that. And there's no, where's the server in them? I try to teach people servant leadership. So in a post office, I got around calling it servant leadership. Try and teach supervisors how to be, you don't lord over people and tell them all what to do. That makes you superior. You should be serving, not pushing them to do something, but pulling them. Whole different thing. Pushing, it's against pulling them. You're helping them go forward. So I used to teach a class in the postal service, and I called it servant leadership. In other words, you're serving and you're helping the group do the job. So it's always about helping the group do the job. And so where was I at on that? I didn't know what the hell I'm at answering this. What was the question?
Like basically the ability to take criticism is so important for our
Okay,
goals, right?
that was the key crux.
Yeah.
I don't hear criticism.
Mhm.
Sorry.
We're good, don't worry. Yeah.
So we don't have a society where people sit down and go, give me a mirror, I want to look at myself, and people see themselves realistically. They don't. We have a society where everybody thinks that everybody I meet, I'm in my last incarnation. Not gonna rotate anymore. Oh, okay, fine. And I'm practically there. I just got to do a couple more things. And I was all these wonderful things in past lives, and I'm now here to give my wisdom to others. And you got to look at, well, Reverend Bill, what are you doing? I go, okay, great. I'll put me right in the same fire. The only difference between them and me is I'm an old Irishman. I know I'm full of bull. These people, they believe everything they say. I am the greatest. I am this. I am that. And I'm going, come on. Nobody is greater than anyone else. Some people are more awakened than others. But ultimately, how can you be better than somebody if we're all one? And so when you put yourself in a position where you're superior to people, that means people are inferior. And that's not a good starting point. You know what I do? I sometimes I do myself harm in my workshops and stuff, because I will tell people, it's not my workshop, it's your workshop. It's not my retreat, it's our retreat. And then the next thing I know, I got all these competing energies. Everybody wants to be the A guy, the alpha male or the alpha female. And I'm going, holy cow, they all want to give their energy now. And they want to give their, I'm a savior and you got to listen to me. And I talk to the cosmos and I'm going, so I'm a little stunned by that. And I shouldn't be, because that's naiveness. I shouldn't have been that naive. I opened the door for that. Truth of the matter is, somebody standing in front of you telling you that they know all the answers. They never suffered any pain in their life. they know what you're going. They know what's happening. Don't listen to them. A real enlightened soul will never tell you they're enlightened. A humble man will never tell you that they're humble, or a woman. And they don't get it. They don't get it. It's humility is the ability to see all as us. But then how could you be superior to anybody if we're all us? So already your ego is like, well, I'm just like everybody else. We are. We're all one, right? So that knocks it down. Truly knocks it down. And I'm flabbergasted majorly that everybody thinks they're top tier. Everybody's there. Everybody's got the answer, not the answer, a answer. It's the answer. This is it. Listen to me. And that's how all these religions got built. All these groups. And then you go to a group and Well, you don't need anybody else's group, just me. I'm your guru teacher. Don't see anybody else. Don't listen to their lecture. Don't go to their workshop. Don't do their videos. What are they afraid of? What are they afraid of? So this is not about competition. This is about family. And when you see everybody as family, spiritual family, it's all us, then all the rest of the stuff doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who gets credit for anything. I did that, great. Who cares? It doesn't matter if somebody looks smarter than you or more enlightened than you. Great. In the end, the only thing that matters is love. So my job is just to awaken the love within them. I don't spend a lot of time taking people individually and saying, "So that's really stupid. What are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. You shouldn't do that." I never say you shouldn't. It's like, I'm against drugs and stuff. People are doing it. I go, well, be careful. Use it intelligently, wisely, best you can. Uh, some people we know they're trying to follow me and do their stuff, and they're eating cows and meat and stuff. And well, they're good people. They just haven't reached that level where they see a need to change over to be a vegetarian. It's okay. But you meet some people as, I'm a vegetarian, therefore everybody's got to be vegetarian. And I meditate with this technique, then everybody's got to meditate with this technique. And everybody's got to do this because this is what I believe. And my God, you've done ayahuasca. My God, you can't be part of the group. I'm going, who am I to tell people what to do? So my goal is to inspire you to ask questions, to accept nothing I say or anybody says as fact. The only thing that's a fact is what you have experienced. And then you got to question that because your experience could be tainted by, you're hallucinating or you're fantasizing or you're whatever. Because a lot of people, I said this, okay, yeah, but you misinterpreted that. You know, uh, it was just a dream. It wasn't a vision. It was a dream. Trying to get people to see that their dreams are not visions. Big difference between dream, boom, and vision. There's a whole energy difference because you get people. Well, Lord Krishna was with me last night, and I talked to Jesus. And yeah, great, sure you did, right? You dreamt it. You've had first off to see these great beings, you'd have to be the same frequency, blinding frequency. But it's not my job to cast asunder anybody's claims. Although once in a while I get blown away by somebody. I go, okay, fine. Yeah, we had somebody at the retreat show up and say that they were this great master and saint and everything. And I go, whew. I had to say something. Otherwise, I'm a polite guy and I don't like to judge people, but sometimes you got to go, other people are going to believe this. So I'm really careful. So I don't have to get into that story. So whatever the question was, I hope I answered it in a roundabout way as typical. But humility, I don't really know somebody that's really humble. I mean, really humble. I know I don't reach that criteria. I'm an Irishman. If I've done something neat, you're going to hear about it. There was no humility involved in that at all. So the only difference between me and other people is I recognize my own fallacy. I mean, it's like, yeah, I'm not humble. But there's other people out there that don't know the difference. They don't know. How can I be humble? I'm this beautiful person. I'm spiritually evolved. It's like, you got to tell people that you got a problem. I mean, I cut my tongue off. I try to be as quiet as I can. I try to be as low as I can be. And even that, my ego gets the best of me. And it's like, I have trouble watching people with this lack of humility. And I told you the story before about the guru in India when I went to him, and he was getting fondled, and everybody's touching his feet and bringing him gifts and waiting on him hand and feet. And I going, oh, Guru, what part of humility plays in your life? Aren't you supposed to be humble? I am the most humble man I know. Oh, okay, thank you. So at that, as soon as somebody says it's like, and I'm the most enlightened man. I'm enlightened. And I've been every greatest being that ever was. I was name of a great saint. I've been that. I'm going, okay, fine, but you're back. Okay. So I think I pretty much covered the subject of humility. We've agreed on two things. One, there's not a humble bone in my body. Two, there's people out there that are as egotistical as me, except they don't own it. Only difference between them and me is I realize it and I own it. Yeah, I'm egotistical. They don't. It's like, no, this is the truth. I'm this great being. I'm going, okay, fine.
Yeah. No, I love that. Yeah, it's so good to know our faults, right? So then we can be aware of them and be like, okay, work on this, work on this.
Yeah.
They're in our awareness, then we can work on them over time and become better people. We're
Are you
all
saying I'm not humble? I'm the most humble man I know. Anyway, so
And then speaking of like gurus, it's like in India they say, right, like if you reach a certain level of enlightenment, then your karmas don't count. So then these gurus are doing all these things thinking,
that's
they're not gonna
that's what they say, and
not
they'll drink alcohol and do drugs with their devotees because they're helping them get over those things. I'm going, really, whiskey, and they're doing marijuana with them and everything. I'm going, really, and they have rumors of sex and other things and power and money, and I mean, you name it. I mean, there's a lot of guru business going on in India, and yeah, it's like
yeah.
it's like even if they start off and they didn't have karma this lifetime, but you can fall back. You've just created more. If you break certain restrictive codes, one of those is when you got a devotee, you don't have sex with devotees. Or if you're married to guru, you don't have sex with anybody other than your wife. So that's kind of a major break. And if you're so focused on money, 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 money on everything, you're losing some of your power and some of your energy. A lot of great gurus with lots of power and abilities have fallen prey to these temptations: sex, money, power. Those three are huge. And fame, fortune, fame.
Yeah. Because it's almost like the higher you go, these tests come, right? It's not like you get to a level and you're not tested. You're always tested.
I was tested.
Hmm.
Jesus was tested for 40 days and 40 nights. The devil came to him, right?
Hmm.
I give you all this kingdom. I give you all that stuff, right? Which means he was actually offering him sex, money, everything, fame, fortune. So one does not know how strong they are to resist that stuff. So you don't go down that road. Well, I could do alcohol and drugs with my devotees. Well, maybe you go down that road and you start taking it. Maybe you get hooked yourself. Maybe you're enjoying that at some pleasure level. And yeah, so I don't want to judge any of them. Not my job. But I think if you're following somebody, you need to be aware, and it's a self-judgment. Are these people representing your ideals? Can you trust them? And some things are just strictly rumors. There's not a shred of truth. So you can't just go by that. What do you observe? What do you feel? What do you know? Because there's a lot of ruined reputations of gurus out there. Yogananda, they used to have stories on the front page of the Los Angeles Times. The love guru, in L.A. Kurnoff had all these. Yogananda had all these, female students following him. Well, there was a lot of jealousy and everything. So he was kind of crucified for something he wasn't doing. So you don't want to put yourself in a position of that. So the gurus now have to stand tall, clean, open, have an awareness of how things look, and not allow rumors to envelop them because it can ruin them and the people around them. So they can't be naive. So, but when you hear a rumor about somebody, if you don't know the facts, don't repeat it because you don't know. Sometimes it's just bad rumors, but you don't know. So I'll let it go at that.
Thank
So
you for
it's
clarifying that. And then what about so self-love? You always talk about self-love with us, how self-love is loving God. And then in order to be able to love ourselves, we have to be able to let go of guilt and shame for things we've done in the past, right? Like once we realize we have these faults and we start to change, how do we release the guilt and the shame so we can be born anew every day and be a different version of ourselves?
yeah, what happens? Shame is one of the worst things.
Mhm.
That's right there with guilt, but shame. And so a lot of literally, quote unquote, I use the word victims with quotes around it. A lot of victims of abuse of different kinds, they feel shame. Well, they're not the perpetrator. They didn't do anything. It was done to them. And yet they feel shame. And even when they report it, everybody feels like oh, your father, your uncle, how could you say this? So then all the burden of everybody, like, how dare you say this? So it's coming forth on that stuff creates great shame and guilt. So a lot of them never come. I'm beginning to think that maybe 75% of the people never come forward on that. I mean, seriously, I think it's a huge number because I have people confess to me private meetings and stuff, and I'm going, holy cow, does every woman I know have this happen? It's like, holy cow, this is like permeates those. It's like smell of food cooking. Everybody smells in the house, but no, everybody denies it, right? No, I didn't smell the spaghetti cooking. No, I didn't smell, no, it's going on. And everybody's blind, deaf, dumb. Nobody wants anybody to report it. So I'm thinking, um, shame is so huge. You can't move on spiritually if you're still holding on to shame. And so, more so than guilt, guilt you eventually end up, you'll forgive yourself because okay, great, I I said something bad. Okay, great, I'll take credit. But shame is like you've given too much power to the person that's done something to you. Shameful. Um, Shame usually involves other people's opinion and indoctrination on you. For example, you're a bedwetter, and then the whole family shames you, and and I talked to this young guy, and he had his mattress outside drying every day when all his friends come by, and so it was like shame. Everybody knew in the neighborhood this 7-year-old kid was having a problem with his bed. So I mean that's a terrible thing to do to a young man. And then you got girls that have been molested and stuff, and it's like if they report it to the mother, don't ever say that about your father or your uncle. Now they're shamed into not revealing the truth. So shame is something we've done to somebody. Somebody's done it to you. There's other shame that you do something really stupid and you feel bad about it, but that's more of a guilt than the shame. More of a guilt. It's both, but I'm talking about the deep, dark shame is like you really were, quote unquote, the victim. And that is hard to move forward to, especially for women or guys. Guys have been molested. That's hard for them to own up that, no, I got molested. I was like, nobody wants to hear a guy's story because I've dealt with some foster kids that was like, holy cow, it's like ruined their lives. Like they just never felt good. Never. Good things happened to them. There was always waiting for something bad to happen. So shame, you just have to reach a point where you go, you need counseling, number one. I don't think you can do it on your own. It's really hard. You kind of think you could meditate it or medicate it. I think you have to penetrate it and get to the source and realize that you're allowing the victimization to continue by feeling shame. You have to go, hey, it ain't mine. I didn't ask for it. I didn't do it. Boom. So you have to cut the wires. You got to cut the ropes. You got to let it go because the only person that's suffering is you. Perpetrator never probably gives you a second thought. All these people do things, they never think about it. They've done it, boom, and end of story. So it's not a matter of forgiving those people. And first off, forgiving them doesn't mean forgetting, wanting to be near them, or wanting association with them, or even want them around. There's some relationships you forgive, but you never want to have a relationship again. So be it. So I suggest to people they really need to talk to somebody like DrPonteaDianati, I hear she's pretty good. And and Kana, and Tammy and some of these other people I know. They're handling these spiritual wounds, and they are wounds, and they are deep, and they're still bleeding. But shame is one of the worst for the self-destructiveness of it, because it's hard for them to love themselves if they're feeling shame. It kind of washes it off. How do you love yourself if you haven't dealt with the shame? And that makes you lesser. And you're always feeling not good enough. So all these other things come up. I don't feel good enough. I don't deserve this because you're feeling shame. Everything goes back to that shame. I'm not a psychologist. You got your master's or doctorate in it, so you know what I'm talking about. But basically, shame is a place that generates all this other stuff, especially not being good enough. I don't deserve it. That's all shame talking. Psychologically, you can tell me I'm right or wrong on that, but that's my analysis of it. Because to me, when I counsel people spiritual level, I feel the shame, and I'm going, whoa, whoa, let it go. It's not you. It's things happen to you. All right. Now there's some genuine shame and stupid things you've done, and there's shameful things, like the perpetrators of these things. You think they would feel shame for having done that to somebody, but the shame doesn't beat them up as much as the person they did it to. The only time they feel shame is when they've been caught and they're in court, or they go to a prison and everybody's looking at them, and now they're trying to hide, or they've done things to babies, children, and girls and boys and stuff, and so their shame is different because they still want to do. They don't have remorse, no remorse. It's embarrassment, not shame. It's embarrassment because they got caught. That's the difference. The victim feels shame. Perpetrator just is embarrassed. That's all. That's a huge difference. So anyway, so overcoming that is a job that needs deeper consultation with people that are trained. You can't just talk to an amateur with that, or go to a priest. I don't know what the hell they're talking about, or me. Hell, I don't even know what I'm talking about. So it's not a spiritual answer you're looking for. It's psychological answers that you need. And you need tools how to fix that. You need ways to change your thinking and outlook and stuff. So they say everything, is a spiritual disease, but not everything is a spiritual medicine. So when you can't medicate it or meditate it, you need somebody to be your shrink, at whatever capacity they are, whatever capacity you can afford. You need somebody that actually can give you tools. Do this, do that, change your thinking, boom, boom, boom. So even who I help a lot of, I try to help a lot of people. Even I know that without opening up old wounds and healing them, that meditation is never going to get you there. Simple as that. You got to work both sides of the street. Spiritual, and emotional. And when you really need that emotional stuff, you got to give it a little more on the emotional than you do on the spiritual, but if that emotional is still hanging there, you're not going to change.
Absolutely. That makes perfect sense because that one incident that happens to them has these ripple effects to all aspects of their life, right? Like if they feel ashamed, this affect their career, their relationship, their children, their relationship with their children. They might repress all kinds of things will come out of it. And it could have even happened in past lives. So it could be like a pattern they've brought in. So it's like this deep thing, right? The soul wound, I call it. It's like this soul wound, but
No,
it's
that's why
yeah.
sometimes if you could somehow get psychologically back into another lifetime, and you can do that through all kinds of games and things and whatever. But a lot of soul wounds, as you call them, uh, manifest in behavior today. Like, why are you afraid of water? Well, you drowned, in the last lifetime. Uh, why you was feeling like not enough? Well, you probably were victimized a lot of times and were meant to, shame, and maybe you didn't feel that shame this lifetime, but that karmic shame is still there. There's a memory of it in the soul. So you look at the behaviors, and it's okay to take a guess. Well, maybe it was a previous lifetime. It's a good thing we don't remember everything from lifetime to lifetime. It would be too much to handle. It's like, what? Yeah. Anyway, so yeah. But that's where work for people that are really doing counseling. They need to supplement the spiritual foundation with real work, not just allowing people to talk their problems over and over until they talked about that same problem, 15, 20 years ago. Look, they got to give them a tool with a spiritual edge, but a tool.
Absolutely. So we're empowering them to move forward, right? Instead of like seeing themselves as a victim. It's like, yes, this horrible thing happened. Let's use the tools, and then you can move forward and maybe help others with it, which is like the ultimate gift, right? Our pain becoming our purpose. As you've done, you've gone through 40 years of cancer, but you've been able to help so many other people recover from cancer. So that's an example of us using our wounds to help others that are going through the same pain, which is so admirable. So we've
Well,
talked, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I think on that note, I think women that have been raped that are doing counseling, I think are utilizing their pain to really help people, and they're going to be listened to by the woman because they've been there, they've done it, just like an alcoholic recovering wants to talk to a recovered alcoholic, or a drug addict wants to talk to an ex-alcoholic. And if you want to talk to me, I don't know, just be a human. You don't have to be an ex anything.
Just be human, just be human. So we've talked about soulmates, we've talked about karma, we talked about men and women, we've talked about guilt and shame. Is there anything else that you wanted to share today, or does that feel complete for today, Reverend
I
Bill?
think if anybody's still watching this video at this stage, um, I probably insulted 90% of the people at some level. Like, oh, see, at my age now, I used to put on filters like, well, I can't quite say that, and now I'm going, if you can't handle it, then go to someplace else. I'm sorry. They're not gonna wash down the truth. I'll try to make it gentle, and I won't embarrass you in front of people, and I won't call you out. But in a general sense, I think people listen to this go, I fall into that classification. I'll fall into here. I'll fall into there. They'll recognize their own where they're at. And it's not for me to ever judge it. It's like, well, Rev Bill, you don't understand this and that, which maybe I don't. But in general, what I'm saying is these things bear witness to truth and and oaths and obligations and love and all these things, judge all these things together. It's a package deal. You can't just say, I'm only going to obey these things. I'm only going to obey these rules. Well, I believe in the whole package, the whole enchilada, right? You got to get the whole enchilada. It's everything. It's part of that package meal. So if you think you're going to progress, but you pick and choose your own menu. I'm saying, well, that's great, but you're also limiting your evolutionary process. So, and it's not for me or anybody else to judge. Seriously, it's not. I really believe in free choice. And there's a lot of things we don't know about people, why they're choosing that. You know, somebody's leaving a relationship. We don't know what that relationship's been like. Maybe that's been hell. We don't know. So for anybody outside of that person to judge it, hands off. But I give this information saying they should look at these things and evaluate, because the general concept's the same. It's karmic actions. That's all. Don't hurt somebody when you're going out the door. Don't slam the door on somebody's foot. You know, gentle, leaving gentle in the night. Anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because I've seen people, leave one relationship for someone else, and then that person leaves them for someone else. I've literally seen the karma repeat itself all these years of working with people. So karma is like very mathematical. And like you said, there's the grace that comes in sometimes. And I believe your talk today is grace, it's God's way of like delivering the truth through you today. Like, hey, like this is the way to do it. So the karma is lessened, and that's the grace. So thank you so much, Reverend Bill, for all your time, for all your wisdom. So grateful for you. Happy to always learn from you. And hopefully you can come back again for a fifth time for another topic. And we look forward to your book on relationships and marriage. Hopefully you're going to write that to help all of us. Thank you so
All
much.
right, I'm on the clock now. I got to start writing. All right.
Perfect. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.